This is Leisha Holmes, and I am your host on the Recruitment podcast. And I am so excited to introduce to our audience today a truly global guest. This is Gareth Fox, and Gareth joins us all the way over in Chicago, although he is a Manc, born and bred. So we're going truly global with this. Gareth is the VP for Midwest and West Coast for Finlay James, who everyone knows if you follow me on social media, one of our clients over here in Manchester and London. Welcome to you today, Gareth. How are you?
Very well, Leisha. Thank you for having me on.
It's an absolute pleasure. Now, I've invited you on here today to talk about something that we're both very passionate about, and we've just talked off camera about this particular topic. But I would like to talk about some context as to why I've invited you on to talk about this today. We're going to talk about leadership and what qualities make a good leader. So recruitment is a meritocracy, ultimately. You know, you started in the business over in Manchester and you're now the vice president over in Chicago. So just talk us through a potted history of how you've achieved this incredible career so far.
So obviously I kind of got introduced into Finlay James by a couple of people that already worked there. Me and obviously the Mr. Nick guy who lives out in New York for us now. Used to compare pay slips, and I think after 12 months time, his was far exceeding mine, which would kind of turn my head. So, and I also kind of knew Finlay James wanted to move to the States, so I thought this could be a good opportunity to kind of get in. But went in at the ground floor, worked in a team. I don't even think I billed for 4 months initially, and I'm thinking, is recruitment for me at the age of 27? But obviously things just started to fall into place, stuck to the process, made the dials, did the calls, and from there, started billing quite comfortably by 7 months, made my first hire. I'd previously managed 10 managers and 87 staff in a car finance automotive startup. So basically my leadership qualities started to shine through, and it went from hiring one to hiring, I think I inherited a team of 5 performing but potentially unhappy people, let's just say. And yeah, we kind of ended up growing out a division that absolutely killed it 1 year. So the reason I got to the States is we built out a US focused team. Mm-hmm. We had a European focused team, and the US focused team obviously absolutely obliterated it. And it was like, can you go and replicate this in the US? And I'm here. So I started in San Francisco. Unfortunately, COVID put that to a head. We was going to move to either Austin or Chicago, and I chose Chicago just because it felt like Manchester. Austin was a little bit too hot for me, Leisha.
You see, you can take a Manc out of Manchester, but you can't ever remove that weather climate that we're all used to. A little bit.
I need them 4 seasons. I need to be wearing my parkas, Oh,
4 seasons in one day. As we record this now, it's sunny, hot, snow, rain, and all sorts. I'm sure it's going to be a much nicer day in Chicago. I love your really candid introduction there. And actually, I've just really picked up on something, the fact that you didn't bill for the first 4 months and that you were thinking, is recruitment for me? I did exactly the same thing in my early career. And I think that it shows real self-awareness. And I think it really allows you to understand who you are as a sort of how resilient you are as a person. So I love
it's tough. Yeah, I mean, literally when you're 27, I think was it 27? Yeah, I'm 33 now, 5 years. So 27, but I was joining with grads. Yeah. And grads are doing deals. I'm like, I've been in sales for 10 years. I'm like, I pulled John in the office. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? It's like absolutely nothing. He's like, it's just not happening. Like, it's literally just not happening. So obviously stuck at it, and I'm glad I did.
And the other point that I really picked up on there was that you stuck to the process. And again, I think this will come to what we're going to talk about, that actually the what we do as recruiters, it doesn't matter if you're listening to this and you're placing chefs or lawyers or doctors or drivers, HGV drivers. Process. And if you follow that process, you will have an outcome. It's as simple as that. And sometimes it takes a bit of time to get there, but eventually you'll build the pipeline to it. So I'm really pleased that you said that. So you're obviously now running the office over in Chicago. And in terms of culture, how different is it from a recruitment perspective?
I'd say more to the point. I mean, kind of when you're headhunting, I mean, it's like bang, introduce yourself, and you just need to jump in. I would say the market is good, but they actually appreciate getting the cold call. Whereas when you work in, well, we work in tech, obviously, so most of our companies, our clients are in London, and because it's such a condensed population, you know, a lot of people don't appreciate the cold call or the reach out. Whereas most salespeople out here, sales is seen as a positive career out here, you know, and it's like, do you know what? Thanks for picking up the phone. Most recruiters just send an email. You know what I mean? So I mean, I think from that perspective. From a headhunting perspective, obviously, it's most definitely different. From a staffing perspective, yeah, I mean, obviously, I've had my highs and lows. I've had that, you know, I have, you know, had my successes, but I've also had my upsets. So I've had to kind of learn the easy way and the hard way. I am a big character. I can sometimes say things out of turn or speak without thinking. So, yeah, I mean, it's different sense of humor, but there is also kind of a line where you can kind of both meet, and you will be able to build a solid culture. But yeah, it's a little bit, it's a tad different, not greatly.
No, I'm sure. Just you like you say, home from home. That's why you chose Chicago.
Yes.
And actually, if we talk about the qualities that make a good leader, you've just said something about yourself there, in that you basically say things as they are. You come across, I mean, anyone that's either watching or listening that doesn't know you yet, and I'm hoping people will go and look at your profile, you are literally, you know, as straight as they come. You know what? I think on your profile, no nonsense, isn't it? So
correct. Yeah.
Actually, is there? I mean, your career prior to recruitment, you know, you ran a huge team by the sounds of it at quite a young age. You know. So,
yeah.
So what do you think are the generic qualities, but also from your own experience of being led by, obviously, you know, previous leaders, but also how you lead now? What do you think would be a good sort of list of qualities that we need to look at if we're considering what makes a good leader? Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot. Obviously, there's a lot that you need to have to become full circle. I personally think, or my opinion, I mean, the immediate one is a lot of selflessness. There can be no hidden agendas. It's just work for me. You know, obviously, at the end of the day, you've got to make sacrifices in terms of time, effort, energy, your own billings to some extent, if you want to be, I would say, a successful leader.
Yeah.
Very attentive. No one makes them laugh. No one makes them cry. No one makes them perform. I'm very firm but fair, but as you picked up on, I'm kind of no nonsense. I'll say it as it is. Some people like that, unfortunately, it has got me into trouble. But I'm very honest when I interview. That is my leadership style. I try and make it as jovial as possible. But you know, if things aren't going right, you will know about it. we will have that conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
But then again, just other things to add. Never ask them to do something you wouldn't do yourself. Pace set, but again, it's something I actually think you cannot be taught, Leisha, and people may disagree with me here, but is emotional intelligence. You either got it or you ain't. And I think if you can read a room and see kind of what's going on and either nip it in the bud or rescue that person before you know what you foresee coming happens, then I think that's just probably the best quality a leader can have. And if you've got it, you just need to, I realized I had it when I had so many staff and I knew I was going right or wrong, and I just basically took advantage and thought, I'm getting more joy of seeing other people succeed. So instead of taking the route of being top 1, 2, 3 seller, I chose to take the kind of the leadership route and get my kicks from that, basically.
Actually, a really, really good point. And I've obviously interviewed over 100 guests now for the podcast, which is incredible. All leaders from across the recruitment industry and beyond, actually, from industry as well. And we've talked about emotional intelligence a few times. I've had a psychologist on, for example, but actually, and a good leader will pick up on something before that person even knows either it's an issue or it's something that needs to be focused on. You know, if you know someone who has previously been all guns blazing and they suddenly go really quiet and they've got their head down and they're not making the calls, an intuitive, emotionally intelligent leader will pick up on that before it becomes an issue.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I wouldn't say so much in Finlay James, but I mean, in Finlay James too, but literally I would be like, payday, like XYZ, they're gone. Like, and 99% accuracy, I would say. It's just, you can just pick up on the emotions.
Wow, gosh. So you're actually, you can see the future. We'll have to get your crystal
ball. wouldn't say I've not won the lottery yet, but
no,
yeah,
you know
I'm not bad.
I think you're right, because I think that there's been so much talk around how people should lead, especially for the last 18 months. You know, like I said, I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts of leadership as well, the High Performance podcast, and Diaries of a CEO, to name a few other, you know, Recruitment, a Resilient Recruiter. And there's so many things that get talked about, but actually those are behaviours, none of those behaviours can be taught. All those behaviours are not necessarily unique to somebody, but it's about understanding to bring out the best in people, isn't it?
Yeah.
But at this point, and I think it comes back to this kind of, what you see is what you get.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That covers what you said. You know, there's nothing that you would ask them to do that you wouldn't do yourself.
Correct.
Come and see me. So I imagine it creates a very transparent, loyal culture, actually.
I would say I've got a core 4 right now. But again, we've had to the point where I was in San Francisco and I interview how I behave in the office. And I think one of the feedback was that was the most unprofessional interview I've ever had. And it's like, that's one person in 50 people I've interviewed. You know, look, if you don't like the way that I interview, you're not gonna like the way that I lead in the office and get the best out of my team. But absolutely, yeah. What you see is what you get. I'm pretty sure my staff, respect that.
I'm sure they do. You've got a wonderful reputation externally and internally. So I want to pick up on something else that you said there. So you had this kind of pivotal moment where you thought, right, which way do I go? Do I go top leaderboard all the way? You know, you've already you're making loads of money. You want to go down the leadership route. So do you think that there is a disconnect between somebody that is a top biller becoming a top leader? Because generally speaking, those who are top billers maybe don't want to let go of the revenue they create. So, I think that's something that I've observed. I've seen some exceptional leaders who have been top billers. We can use the analogy of footballers, can't we? So, the best goal scorer, do they make the best football manager? But what's been your experience, or what have you seen? And not just in recruitment, actually. If you can talk to your clients, tech leaders.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of experience, I think the answer is yes and no. It certainly is possible. I just think there's that much of a time sacrifice needed to invest in the staff to be that good leader. You probably need to lose some because to be a top biller, I mean, you pretty much become a recluse, right? I mean, you've got to kind of, and that's in any industry. I mean, one of the best salespeople I've ever met is a guy called Jamie, and they kept trying to push him to be a leader, and he's like, literally, I just want to come in, do my job, go home. And he was always the highest earner in the business, without fail. So I think it's down to the individual. Are they willing to basically give some of that selflessness to be a top biller and maybe shave 20k off their earnings, or do they just want to be number one? So is it possible? Yes, but they'd probably be working 24 hours a day. I've just not seen it personally in recruitment. That's probably the fairest comment to make. I think obviously, and I've seen like people try to become, even in Manchester, we've had, I can count on my hand now, 2 or 3 people who did take a team and then they just went, I just want to concentrate on my own billings. I'm not earning as much money. I'm not enjoying it. And they just look after number one. And, they've had phenomenal years this year. So I think you have to pick one or the other.
Yeah. But that's actually be with an employer that allows you to switch if you need to, which is, obviously fantastic.
Yeah.
Finlay James.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But that learning curve that you referred to earlier on in the interview about the first 4 months, that steep learning curve, going to becoming a billing leader is the steep learning curve of all. And I've said that for many, many years, that people do struggle with it because it's the balance of still maintaining your own pace, and being, very aware of the time management of how you're going to have to split your time and not compromising on either. So I think it's really interesting that you've picked up on that, and you've done so, I think, very diplomatically. And fairly. I think it's very fair observations. I think, we're not saying it's one size fits all, but, if you're listening to this as a leader and you're looking at your top biller thinking, I just want to replicate what you do.
I mean, people do. I mean, obviously our top biller most definitely earned more money than me this year. But I mean, would I have got my kicks from doing that? No, because I enjoy, I had rookie of the year this year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jesus, I was like, yeah, do you know what I mean? It's just little wins like that. President's Club in the first year. That's where I get my thrives. Don't get me wrong, I give my contribution. I've not been the top biller in Finlay James, but I've been top 3. I just enjoy seeing other people succeed, but that's my personality.
And so I think, to summarize what you're saying, I think one of the most important qualities is that altruistic, bigger picture, someone that wants the better good of the company or the team or practice, whatever it might be. And if you are, as a leader, listening to this thinking, well, there's James over there, I don't know why we're picking on the name Jamie, but there you go. He's making X amount more than anybody else. You don't need to put them in a leadership role if they don't want that. What you do is you create like a champion role, have workshops watching what he does, break it down so that it's not taken away from his time. That's a really great.
Of course.
One of the other reasons I wanted to invite you on is because you have made the move, and as the world opens up again, which I'm hoping from 2022 and beyond will become a reality for a lot of recruiters, particularly those like you who don't have any sort of commitments of family and in the UK holding them back now. What would you say are the biggest considerations for anyone thinking about moving overseas, and what are the potential downsides, but also the potential gains from staying in the UK?
Staying in the UK or staying in the US?
Well, I'm not just moving. I'm saying, if I was thinking now about, do I stay here in the UK or do I go abroad? What would you say the consideration?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I certainly wish I would have done it while I was younger. I know that for sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it is a different walk of life. It's a different pace of life. Especially if we're talking, let's say, recruitment specific. As you can imagine, one state is the size of England, so you've got a much greater playing field. So you can hit pretty much any market anywhere. So I'd say from that perspective, but notice periods of 2 weeks instead of 4 weeks, you get your commission sooner. And the lifestyle's great. I mean, literally, you can jump on a plane and be in a different state, which is like being in a different country within an hour. You can travel internally pretty easily, which is, to be fair, being a highlight during COVID with not being able to get home, I've still managed to cover quite a few states.
Oh, great.
So I would say, if you get the opportunity as a young recruiter, and they want to ship you somewhere and, you haven't got those ties or commitments, take the leap sooner rather than later, and don't second guess yourself.
I love it. I think that's great experience, just general life experience. And you're still very young, let me tell you. Anyone that's is sat there shaking their head going, you're not old. I agree.
Pitfalls being there, sorry, Alicia, to cut you off, would be, family, of course. Yeah. I mean, family, it's difficult, FaceTime all the time, especially with the borders being shut.
Yeah. And
initially building that network of friends. So unless you go out with 2 or 3 colleagues at the start, which not every company does, you're spending a lot of time hanging around in Irish bars trying to build network, watching sports and stuff like that. So it's not all doom and gloom, but San Francisco is a slow burner. But then Chicago, obviously, unfortunately, I met some people through the recruitment network, and then it's just snowballed from there. So yeah, I'd say that's, you've got to be willing to put yourself out there. But as a recruiter, you should be pretty outgoing anyway, I would say.
And another high, which I believe from speaking to other people, is that the rates are much higher over there, the fees that you charge.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the salaries are higher, so naturally, even if you're getting pushed down to 20%, if you're placing somebody at 140, you're still getting a 28k fee. So yeah, definitely higher. I think I actually, the year before I moved out here personally, I think I made the most placements ever, and it was just nowhere near to kind of the revenues I'm bringing in now. It's crazy.
So if people are listening and you're sat in a saturated market and you're working bloody hard, it might be time to think about a market where it's, that it's just mind-blowingly bigger, isn't it? It's insane.
You've got to be willing, if you're going to do it from the UK, so obviously we started from the UK to build the US presence.
Yeah.
You've got to be willing to do the hours. If that means starting a little bit later in the day. I didn't, obviously, because I had a European team as well. So it was kind of 6 a.m. get-ups, office 6:30, still making calls to America at 11. But that's how I got here.
But that's been a consistent message all the way through this interview, Gareth, and that if you put the calls in and you do the work, you'll get the results. There's an easy win. And I think that's the real caveat for any, more junior recruiters listening. There are no shortcuts to success. That's definitely something I've taken away. You've been an absolute delight. I hope you have a great day ahead, and good luck for the rest of the year for Chicago.
Thank you very much, Alicia. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Good to see you.